Good morning. How are you? Good. Oh, I always forget that it automatically mutes everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you all safe up there from fire?
It's about a mile away.
Are you
So
kidding?
no. So this morning they had it 60% contained. So last night we were really kind of worried, but it's kind of weird. It's about a mile away, but we're it would have to jump the 215 freeway.
Yeah.
So it's right off of Clinton Keith, and we're right on the other side of Clinton Keith, right by the 215, and it's right on the opposite side. So
Oh my
it
gosh.
was. I know. Yesterday I saw just a little bit of smoke when I went into. I had to run into Target, and I came out, and it was. Well, I could hear the planes going when I was in Target, and it got out. It was so windy here yesterday,
Yeah.
and like up to 75 miles, they said.
Oh,
So by the time I got out, it was out of control. So they had
oh
to
my gosh.
evacuate the high school right there, and just crazy. So now that one that's in like around Vista area, is that by you?
Yeah, that's close to us, but it's to the north. And
Okay.
so it's already blowing like already west of us.
Okay.
I'm in San Marcos, but our school district's closed down. And
Yep.
I didn't pack bags last night because you just never know what else is going to happen.
I know you don't when it's
And my soda machine was all packed up and like ready to go.
you're like, I'm not leaving the machine. Yeah, I know it is. You just don't know what the winds are going to do.
Yeah.
So I knew last night when we went to bed, it was kind of heading toward French Valley area, which is complete opposite of our area. So,
Yeah.
then this morning I heard because the winds are right now, we don't have any wind. So
Right.
we're at 60% containment. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But have you heard how much yours is contained?
I don't think it's very contained, but they said that because the wind died down so much, it's become a lot less, it's more spotty and not so solid wall.
Yeah.
So it's getting easier to handle it as long as the winds just, I mean, usually the later it gets in the morning, the winds start coming back up.
I know. And I don't know if it's supposed to be windy today or not.
They said through today, but hopefully not as bad as yesterday.
Gosh, I know. Yesterday was
It
terrible.
was so
Oh,
bad. Did you hear about the horses? The horses
no.
at San Luis Rey Downs? They
That
had
what?
to like open there's like a thoroughbred training facility. They lost at least 25 horses there in the flames. And they
Oh,
had to just open up the stalls, let them run free. It was terrible.
oh
The
no.
horses. So I don't know, I might go to Del Mar. They're taking all the horses at Del Mar today.
Uh-huh.
I just might go down there and just help,
Yeah,
feed and water and
yeah. I did hear they were telling people if you have to let them run, just spray. If you have spray paint, paint your phone number on their fur, and that way
yeah.
they know who to contact with.
Can
When
you
they're,
imagine?
no,
Oh,
I can't imagine. No, I can't even because I heard that I was wondering like if why people can't just put them in their trailer, but I heard they get spooked and then they won't
yeah.
go.
They won't move sometimes. They won't go.
Oh, that's so sad.
Erg. And it takes so long to get that many trailers and then that many horses onto the trailers.
Yeah.
Just sometimes they just won't do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad. So, oh, those poor horses.
Yeah, I mean the house and everything is horrible, horrible too. Some things can be replaced and those lives can't be replaced.
Yeah.
Just oh
I know. I know. I can't even imagine. I know there was a lady on the news last night in Marietta. It's the one gal whose house burned down, and they were saying that she lost her two dogs and a cat, and
oh
I know because she wasn't able to get anything out. It was just
yeah,
so quick.
it's so
And
fast.
I know it's so sad. You just think, gosh, they're probably thinking, what is going on here?
I don't know how I get my cats out. They hate the cat carrier. They're so hard to get in there. I just thought I'm gonna put blankets over them and like wrap them up and take them out to the car.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
time. Sometimes you have 5 minutes to get your family out.
yep. That's
Terrible.
right. That's right. I know, and hope that they're not hiding somewhere.
Oh, and they would. They would run away and hide under the
Yeah,
bed, wherever. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we'll get started.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Ready? So we'll start with words from the left-hand side, right-hand side that focus on left hand, then right hand, and then both. Okay. Fleet, sky, dream, shake, fret, trot, pleat, thumb, these, spine, tree, scheme, slam, clear, grass, dry, smear, queen, drop, spell, sneak, creek, dwell, pride, snow, clam, bend, sort, hard, worn, faint, table, lard, fable, warn, port, send, furl, mark, heart, fable, paint, card, dart, cure, learn, tend, wobble, lard, turn, lend, kind, shirt, swarm, flaunt, chance, glance, chant, dribble, shaft, stern, flirt, blunt, thing, shift, prance, fling, plant, theft, glint, skirt, drift, smart, front, slurp, graft, third. All right. Now I've got some sentences using the consonant compound SHR on the initial side. Here we go. Ready? Susan was a shrewd card player. The pear had shriveled up. The con man was a shrewd operator. The shrubbery was dense and thorny. I worked on a shrimp boat last summer. You need a shred of common sense. His voice is shrill and unpleasant. The soaking made her skin shrivel. Did you buy a new shrub for the hedge? He wore a black shroud. They had to remove the shrapnel. The whistle was short and shrill. Have you tried the shrimp salad? There were shriners in the parade. Light the candles on the shrine. He gave the project short shrift. All right. Now I've got a drill here that's called working with words. Here we go. Reluctant, very reluctant. He was reluctant to take the stand. Emphasis, strong emphasis. Put your emphasis on accuracy. Sentence, long sentence. She wrote the entire sentence correctly. Irrational, irrational conclusion. They were acting in an irrational manner. Numerical, numerical order. They found the list was in numerical order. Oppressive, oppressive heat. It was so humid that it was oppressive. Exclude, exclude all that. Exclude him from the conversation. Improvement, real improvement. His performance showed improvement. Cylindrical, cylindrical wheel. The shape of the object was cylindrical. Infiltrate, he infiltrated it. The spies will infiltrate the organization. Vegetarian, vegetarian diet. He became a vegetarian 3 years ago. Occipital, occipital bone. The problem was in the occipital area. Uranium, uranium deposit. They delivered the uranium to the lab. Distinction, obvious distinction. The distinction was clear. Contemplated, serious contemplation. He had contemplated the possibility. Criteria, new criteria. The criteria for grading were changed. Coherent, spoke incoherently. After the accident, Jim was not coherent. Designate, is designating. Are you the designated driver tonight? Item, the sale item caught her attention. Inventory, take inventory. The store closed for inventory. Subsidy, the subsidy. The subsidy was substantial. Demand, very demanding. The kidnapper made many demands. All right. Now I've got a basic review, brief review. You're going to hear control, automatic, result, understood, understand, and under. And here are your sentences. He exercised better self-control. She is very hard to understand at times. The results of the race are not final. I have trouble understanding him. We need adequate safety controls. It will automatically turn off. The car went under the overpass. Use those figures to get the resulting scores. What is the controlling statute? I have an automatic coffee maker. We watch the resultant furrier. That is really the controlling factor. Make sure that Dennis understands. We know that he controlled the company. We had a tacit understanding. What was the result of the test? He understood everything that was being said. She felt as if she were under a cloud. Bad planning resulted in failure. Right. Now, these are going to be time phrases. Actually, you know what? No, that's not the one that I wanted. Hold on. Yeah, this is, it's not the one that I wanted. Oh, okay. Okay, well, no worries. That's not the one I wanted. So we're going to go ahead and go right into a narrative answer. I'm going to read this once at 180, again at 200, and again at 225. Okay, and it's a narrative answer. All right, first time at 180. Here we go. The patient states that he is not yet able to work or to do work at all. He can't even do lighter work. In regard to the pain in the upper dorsal area, the patient states that this area is painful and that he has to sleep flat on his back. He states that this part of his back bothers him, even on lifting lighter things such as a bag of groceries. He claims that the pain in the lower spine particularly bothers him when he is on his feet a lot. The patient states that he is not on a strict diet for his ulcer. His doctor advised him to eat whatever he found that he was able to eat that would not cause him distress. He states, however, that he is not able to eat solid food because of the problems of the right side of his jaw. The patient wears no type of back support. He still takes pills for pain, but only on occasion. He took Darvin for some time and has been taking ibuprofen when necessary. He is taking a tranquilizer at night. His doctor advised him that it would be a good idea to continue doing this because it would keep his ulcer from acting up again. Okay, so let's read that again at 200. Here we go. The patient states that he is not yet able to do work at all. He can't even do lighter work. In regard to the pain in the upper dorsal area, the pain states that this area is painful and that he has to sleep flat on his back. He states that this part of his back bothers him, even on lifting lighter things such as a bag of groceries. He claims that the pain in the lower spine particularly bothers him when he is on his feet a lot. The patient states that he is not on a strict diet for his ulcer. His doctor advised him to eat whatever he found that he was able to eat that would not cause him distress. He states, however, that he is not able to eat solid food because of the problem of the right side of his jaw. The patient wears no type of back support. He still takes pills for the pain, but only on occasion. He took Darvin for some time and has been taking ibuprofen when necessary. He is taking a tranquilizer at night. His doctor advised him that it would be a good idea to continue doing this because it would keep his ulcer from acting up again. All right, last time at 225. The patient states that he is not yet able to do work at all. He can't even do lighter work. In regard to the pain in the upper dorsal area, the patient states that this area is painful and that he has to sleep flat on his back. He states that this part of his back bothers him, even on lifting lighter things such as a bag of groceries. He claims that the pain in the lower spine particularly bothers him when he is on his feet a lot. The patient states that he is not on a strict diet for his ulcer. The doctor advised him to eat whatever he found that he was able to eat that would not cause him distress. He states, however, that he is not able to eat solid food because of the problem of the right side of his jaw. The patient wears no type of back support. He still takes pills for the pain, but only on occasion. He took Darvin for some time and has been taking ibuprofen when necessary. He is taking a tranquilizer at night. His doctor advised him that it would be a good idea to continue doing this because it would keep his ulcer from acting up again. All right. Now I can read this one more time at 2:50 if you want. No? Okay, that's okay. No worries. That seemed pretty easy to read, but that doesn't always mean that it's easy to write. All right, so I have an article here. It's called, Do You Have the Disease Known as Mediocrity? Okay, so this looks like a neat little article. All right, here we go. The disease. Mediocrity is a chronic disease that occurs when a person settles for being all right when they were meant to shine as a beacon of light. The symptoms. No two cases of mediocrity are the same. Signs and symptoms may come on suddenly or develop slowly, may be mild or severe, and may be temporary or permanent. Some people with mediocrity experience flares. These are episodes in which a person is motivated to be the best person they can be, then upon experiencing challenges, revert back to living a mediocre life. The symptoms of mediocrity, though obvious, are often overlooked and mistaken as a normal way of life. The most common signs and symptoms of mediocrity include refusal to take chances and follow one's dream from fear and low self-esteem, pessimism and irritability at other people's success from the bitterness of unfulfilled potential, lack of peace in one's life from the toxicity of negative people and environments, self-destructive actions due to the lack of vision of the great future that lies ahead. The cure. Mediocrity is curable. However, treatment is dependent upon your signs and symptoms. The most common cures to control mediocrity are below. Number 1, remove negative people from your life. Ourselves, as well as others, will never know how great our lives can be when we are surrounded by negative people. Stop making excuses to remain in bad company. I love them. I've known them for such and such. It doesn't matter. If they are not illuminating your life and pushing you toward being the best you can be, let them go. Number 2, build up a tolerance toward rejection and failure. Even if you fail, keep going. Even if you get rejected, keep trying. As Denzel Washington says, if you hang around the barber shop long enough, eventually you'll get a haircut. Do not stop until someone cuts your hair. Metaphorically speaking, of course, but if you need a haircut, get that too. Number 3, get some drive. You have got to have drive. The drive to say, I want this extremely bad, then make the moves. Number 4, be patient with the process and maximize your current opportunity. Too often we want to jump into the deep end of the pool before learning how to swim in the shallow end. The shallow end of the pool provides you the opportunity to make mistakes, learn, innovate, and get great. Once you hit the deep end, there will be no floor for you to walk on, and there's no guarantee a lifeguard will be on duty. Stop being so anxious for the deep end until you have fully taken advantage of the shallow end of the pool. Number 5, have the audacity to have big courage. If you want big things from life, you have to have big courage. All that can happen is no. You've experienced and survived worse things than a no. Go for it. Number 6, stop looking for approval and trying to be important. Just do the work. Devote yourself to important work, and importance will follow, not the other way around. Number 7, stop being afraid to let your light shine. You don't put a lamp under a table. You put it on top so it can shine. You have to shine. Number 8, stop hating on other people. You cannot get mad at other people for making their life happen. They have the same 24 hours that you do. Use them. You were born to be great, not mediocre. Be who you were born to be. All right. Moving into jury charge. I'll read this at 200. I read that last one at 180. And this is going to be just general jury charge. I've got one general and one criminal. Okay. All right, here we go. The test to be given to testimony is not merely the number of witnesses, but rather the weight to which the testimony of such witness or witnesses is entitled. And in determining the question of weight and credibility, you have a right to and you should consider the conduct of the witnesses on the stand, their manner on the stand, their relation to the parties, if any, their degree of intelligence, their interest in the case, if any, their bias and prejudice, if any, the reasonableness or unreasonableness of their statements, the opportunity for ascertaining or being correctly informed as to the matters concerning which they testify. A witness is presumed to tell the truth. This presumption, however, may be overcome by the manner in which such witness testifies, as well as by other circumstances or conditions, such as may be used in testing the credibility of any witness. As I have heretofore instructed you, if you are convinced that a witness has sworn falsely to a material matter, and being convinced that such false testimony was not the result of mistake or inadvertence, but willfully given to the design to deceive, then all of the testimony of such witness should be disregarded by you unless such testimony or any portion thereof may be supported by other testimony entitled to greater weight, or for other reasons you may be convinced that the witness has testified truthfully as to the portion of his or her testimony. You should not consider any statement of an alleged fact made by counsel during the trial as evidence in the case, unless such matter is stipulated to as a fact by both sides. The only evidence that you can accept in determining the issue is that which has been produced from the witness stand or by stipulation of counsel for the parties of such presumptions of law as the court may give to you, bearing upon the facts in the case. Okay, moving on to criminal jury charge. Here we go. Under the administration of criminal law, every person charged with the commission of a crime and who has been indicted by a grand jury of this county is entitled to a trial by jury. An indictment is a written accusation by a grand jury charging a defendant with the commission of a crime. You will determine the weight to be given to the evidence presented. You will determine the credibility of the witnesses and the believability of the witnesses who took the stand. Consider their manner, their conduct on the stand, and their motives, if any. Do they have an interest in the case? What is their background? Use any method you desire to determine these things, provided it is from a fair and honest standpoint. If you believe any witness is an interested witness, it does not mean you must exclude the testimony of that person. He may be telling the entire truth, just as one who is disinterested. If you conclude, however, that any witness has willfully testified falsely to a material fact, you have the right to disregard that person's entire testimony, or you may accept that part which you believe and reject that part which you disbelieve. It is the function of the court to preside over the trial, to see that it is conducted fairly and in an orderly manner, to instruct the jury regarding the law, and to rule upon questions of law and upon all objections and motions made by counsel for both sides. In so doing, I did not intend to convey to you that I had any opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the defendants. You must be guided only by the evidence. You must decide the case for yourself, but you are to do so only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. All right. All right, so I have just one more. This is congressional record, all right? And then we're going to go on to Q&A. Okay, so let me give you a short word list. You're going to hear tenacity, army, medal, quest, courageous, Hindenburg, predicament, Lawrence R. Matthews, Howard Davis, Lubbock, Texas, World War II, reintroducing, Mr. President, colleague, military records, Congressional Medal of Honor, Eligibility. All right. That's about it. All right, so I'm going to read this at, let's see here. Would you like me to read this at 180 or 200? 180? Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. Mr. President, today I am reintroducing a bill on behalf of myself and my colleague, Howard Davis, that will direct the Army Board for Correction of Military Records to reconsider the application of Mr. Lawrence R. Matthews of Lubbock, Texas, for consideration for the Congressional Medal of Honor. In determining his eligibility, the board should apply the standards for such an award that were in effect on July 27, 1941. Actually, our bill is identical to legislation that was introduced 2 years ago. We are interested in Mr. Matthews' unusual predicament and would like to assist him. Mr. Matthews is a World War II military hero. Since 1941, he has continued his struggle to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was recommended for the medal by his commanding officer after distinguishing himself in the battle against the Germans and in the capture of Hitler, including the Operation Queen. It is our belief that if Mr. Matthews is judged by the criteria that were in effect at the time he was recommended for the Congressional Medal of Honor, he would have qualified. The legislation we propose is that Mr. Matthews be considered for the medal under the criteria back in effect in 1941. Mr. Matthews has suffered many disappointments in his elusive quest for the Congressional Medal of Honor. Yet after all these disappointments, he remains a courageous and loyal American who believes in liberty and the democratic society. This is our opportunity to honor a truly outstanding American whose spirit and tenacity are undying. Mr. President, I ask that the bill be printed in the record. There being no objection, the bill will be printed in the record. All right. Moving on to Q&A. We're going to just start with, this is strictly defense Q&A, okay? And I'll start at I think I'll read this once at, well, would you like me to start at 180 or start at 200? 180, okay. And then the second time I'll read it at 200, okay? All right, here we go. What is your age at the present time? I am 60 years old. Do you recall when you took up residence with Mrs. Joyce Duncan, the deceased? When I took up residence with her? When did you start living with her in the same house? I couldn't say. I worked out there for Mrs. Watson, and I would go down there and stay at night because I lived so far. Did you start staying with her at night at a time when Mrs. Duncan was still employed? Yes, she was employed. And how long did you continue to stay in the house with her? I don't know what you mean. How long did you live with her before you moved out and moved next door? Oh, I lived with her about 6 or 7 years. And then you moved out? Yes. Did you move next door at that time? No, I had moved on Peachtree Road. And when did you return to live next door to Mrs. Duncan? Well, I don't know. I know the date, but I haven't got it with me. I don't know just the right date that I moved in. Do you remember what year that was? I don't know that. I've got it at home, but I don't recall. Was it after Mrs. Duncan had ceased working? When I moved, I think she was working. Now, with respect to the condition of Mrs. Duncan's health, I believe that you stated that on occasion she would pass out, have these so-called fainting spells. Yes, she did. Were you present on any of those occasions? Yes, I was. And I believe you stated that you gave her a glass of water and some ibuprofen. I did. Did you call a doctor? No, she never wanted me to call when she felt bad like that. And on these occasions, neither you or Mrs. Duncan herself ever called the doctor? We didn't call, but I took her to the doctor. Did you ever take her to the doctor immediately upon one of those occasions? No, she would come out of them in about 15 or 20 minutes. She would always come out of them. Now, you mentioned Mrs. Hoover. Who was Mrs. Hoover? Was she just a tenant there renting a room from Mrs. Duncan? Yes, she was. And you stated that Mrs. Hoover and Mrs. Duncan's relationship fluctuated, that sometimes it was good and sometimes it was not good. Is that correct? That's correct. Is it true that Mrs. Hoover sometimes was a rather heavy drinker? Well, I don't know about that. She wasn't no heavy drinker, but she took a drink sometimes. And then drinking is one of the things that your sister disapproved of. Is that correct? My sister told her, if that's your life, that's your life. Now, with respect to, you stated, I believe that Mr. and Mrs. Moore, the defendants, never had any close relationship with Mrs. Duncan. Is that correct? I beg your pardon, Mr. and Mrs. Moore. I believe you stated that they did not have a close relationship with Mrs. Duncan. Is that right? Who is Moore? The defendants in this case. You say I stated that they didn't have a close relationship? No, I never said that. I didn't say that. I believe you testified that, to your knowledge, they didn't eat at her house or have any meals together? Yes, I did. Did they visit back and forth or go out for evenings together? Yes, I don't know how often, but I know they did. All right, so let's read that one more time at 200. All right, here we go. Sort of sounded familiar, but I didn't date it, so I thought this was the first time, so I don't know. If I apologize if I did read this before, but there's no date on here. I always try to date it so I don't forget. All right, one more time at 200. What is your age at the present time? I am 60 years old. Do you recall when you took up residence with Mrs. Joyce Duncan, the deceased? When I took up residence with her? When did you start living with her in the same house? I couldn't say. I worked out there for Mrs. Watson, and I would go down there and stay at night because I lived so far. Did you start staying with her at night at a time, when Mrs. Duncan was still employed? Yes, she was employed. And how long did you continue to stay in the house with her? I don't know what you mean. How long did you live with her before you moved out and moved next door? Oh, I lived with her about 6 or 7 years. And then you moved out? Yes. Did you move next door at that time? No, I had moved on Peachtree Road. And when did you return to live next door to Mrs. Duncan? Well, I don't know. I know the date, but I haven't got it with me. I don't know just the right date that I moved in. Do you remember what year that was? I don't know that. I've got it at home, but I don't recall. Was it after Mrs. Duncan had ceased working? When I moved, I think she was working. Now, with respect to the condition of Mrs. Duncan's health, I believe that you stated that on occasion she would pass out, have these so-called fainting spells. Yes, she did. Were you present on any of those occasions? Yes, I was. And I believe you stated that you gave her a glass of water and some ibuprofen. I did. Did you call a doctor? No, she never wanted me to call when she felt bad like that. And on these occasions, neither you nor Mrs. Duncan herself ever called the doctor. We didn't call, but I took her to the doctor. Did you ever take her to the doctor immediately upon one of those occasions? No, she would come out of them in about 15 or 20 minutes. She would always come out of them. Now, you mentioned Mrs. Hoover. Who was Mrs. Hoover? Was she just a tenant there renting a room from Mrs. Duncan? Yes, she was. And you stated that Mrs. Hoover and Mrs. Duncan's relationship fluctuated, that sometimes it was good and sometimes it was not good. Is that correct? That's correct. Is it true that Mrs. Hoover sometimes was a rather heavy drinker? Well, I don't know about that. She wasn't no heavy drinker, but she took a drink sometimes. And then drinking is one of the things that your sister disapproved of. Is that correct? My sister told her, if that's your life, that's your life. Now, with respect to, you stated, I believe that Mr. and Mrs. Moore, the defendants, never had any close relationship with Mrs. Duncan. Is that correct? I beg your pardon, Mr. and Mrs. Moore. I believe you stated that they did not have a close relationship with Mrs. Duncan. Is that right? Who is Moore? The defendants in this case. You say I stated that they didn't have a close relationship? No, I never said that. I didn't say that. I believe you testified that, to your knowledge, they didn't eat at her house or have any meals together? Yes, I did. Did they visit back and forth or go out for evenings together? Yes, I don't know how often, but I know they did. All right. How are we doing on time? Okay, good. So I have a new transcript. This is for voice with the court, so that's why I took off D2. Court's this is a court case. Okay. All right. Here we go. And I'll start at 180 and I'll work my way to 200 because it is for voice. Here we go. People versus Sean Thomas Myers and Heidi Mae Patterson. Kurt Mason for the people. Susan Sanders specially appearing on behalf of Rick Smith for Ms. Patterson, present in custody, coming before the court, and Brandon Waltz on behalf of Mr. Myers, Your Honor. He's present in custody before the court, seated behind me. This is the time and place set for the preliminary hearing. Are the people ready? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Waltz, are you ready? Ready. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Saunders, are you ready? We are ready. Any motions before we begin? Exclude and join. Motion to exclude witnesses is granted. People would move to designate Deputy Salmon as the investigating officer. Can you spell the last name for the record, please, Mr. Mason? It's Salmon. Deputy Salmon will be deemed the investigating officer on behalf of the people. Mr. Mason, you may call your first witness. People call Deputy Ramos. Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall state in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please state your full name for the record, spelling your first and last name. My name is Mark Ramos, Markramos. You may inquire, Mr. Mason. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Deputy. Good morning. What is your occupation? I'm a deputy sheriff with the Oxnard Sheriff's Department. How long have you been a sworn peace officer in the state of California? 9 years, 5 months. What was your assignment in September of 2011? I'm assigned to the Narcotics Division, CalMet. Just briefly give us your background, training, and experience relating to narcotic investigations, specifically methamphetamine and manufacturing. I attended our basic academy through the Sheriff's Department training while in the jails, encountered numerous individuals who brought either controlled substances into the jail facilities, and while on patrol, over 300 of encounters with methamphetamine, everything from sales to use. So you've encountered methamphetamine several hundreds of times? Yes, sir. Were you on duty on September 10th, 2011, approximately 4:30 p.m.? Yes, sir. Did you assist with the search warrant at 5025 Kyle Road? And for the record, that is spelled Kyle Road in the city of Oxnard? I did. Is that in the county of Los Angeles? Yes. Your Honor, I would make an objection to the deputy's testimony. I don't have any discovery of a report from him. There is no report from him. He's referenced in, I believe, Deputy Salmon's report and Detective Hogan's report. And Ms. Sanders and Mr. Waltz, do you have Deputy Hogan's report and Deputy Salmon's report? I have Salmon's. Is that what he's going to be testifying off of? He will be testifying. Well, I will object. The proper discovery wasn't turned over. We cannot rely on what Deputy Salmon wrote in his report regarding what this witness will be testifying to. May I be heard, Your Honor? Yes, you may. We have witnesses testify all the time to what they told somebody else, which is exactly what he's going to do. At this point, I don't see any objection as to why Deputy Ramos cannot testify. He was at that location. Subject to further objections to Mr. Waltz and Ms. Saunders, based on the questions and answers, it's not required that Deputy Ramos write a report in order to testify, so the question is overruled, or the objection is overruled. Deputy Ramos, what was your assignment on that particular day during the service of the search warrant? I was assisted, or to assist, with entry and securing the scene, and then once we secured the scene, I assisted in the search. And what area did you search? The living room. What, if anything, did you find in the living room? I located a quantity of methamphetamine in a cabinet area, which was in a coffee filter. Objection as to the term methamphetamine lacks foundation. Sustained. Motion to strike. It will be stricken. If you want to rephrase the question, counsel, I'm going to get some later testimony to confirm what it was. Did you find something you suspected to be methamphetamine? Yes. Objection leading. Overruled. Could you describe what it was contained in? The meth, the suspected methamphetamine, was in a coffee filter, and the coffee filter was in a plastic drawer bin in a cabinet in the living room. Now, is there anything unusual about this suspected meth versus other meth you've observed or found? Yes, I found this methamphetamine to be wet and smelling of acetone. Anything unusual about the coffee filter itself? Well, yes, there was a yellow ring about halfway up the coffee filter, as if it had been wet, like a watermark, if you will, on the coffee filter. What color was that? It was a yellow color. What was the approximate weight of the? I don't know. Okay, did you process that, or was that turned over to somebody else? That was turned over to the investigating officer, which was who? Detective Salmon. Okay, and did you find any acetone in the same area, or was that found somewhere else? I believe there was a bottle located in the living room. I'd object. It's speculation, obviously. Sustained. Motion to strike. I have nothing further. It will be stricken. Counsel? Yes, thank you. I have just a few. How long were you at the location before you made entry into the house? I don't know, sir. I'm asking you how long you were at the location. Well, before we made entry into the house, sir? Right. I don't remember how long we arrived on the scene before we went in. Okay, could you give us an estimate of how long? I would guess 30 minutes, sir. Let me ask you this. Isn't it true that you arrived on the scene and you remained outside of the residence for a good period of time before making entry into the house? I went inside and outside of the house several times. I'm asking you a specific question. When you arrived on the scene, isn't it true you remained outside of the residence for a pretty significant amount of time before making entry into the house? You didn't show up, get out of your car, walk to the front door, or go into the house? Correct, sir. Okay, isn't it also true when you arrived, Mr. Myers was not home at the location? I don't know where he was located, sir, or if he was even home during the time. Okay, when you arrived on the scene, did you notice Mr. Myers there? I did not see him, no. Okay, when you went into the house, did you notice Mr. Myers there? I did not see him in the house, no. Okay, when is the first time that you saw Mr. Myers at the location after you arrived on the scene? Well, I believe he was outside in front of the garage area. Okay, and about how long was that after you arrived on the scene? Guesstimation, sir, 30 or 40 minutes, best guess. Do you know where Mr. Myers was coming from? No, sir. Did you talk to Mr. Myers at any point? I don't recall, sir, speaking with him specifically. Okay, did any other deputies make entry into the house before you? I believe so, yes, sir. Okay, about how long did they go in before you went in? Again, sir, it would be speculating, 15 or 20 minutes maybe. Okay, and you were the person who found this suspected methamphetamine in the coffee filter, is that right? Yes, sir. And you are sure Mr. Myers wasn't in the house when you initially made entry into the house, is that right? When I went in, no, sir, he was not in there. And he wasn't in the house when you arrived on the scene, is that right? To the best of my knowledge, correct. Okay, when the sheriff's department executes a search warrant, isn't it true you would arrive, announce your presence, and clear a house prior to making any kind of a search? Yes, sir. I mean, you wouldn't just go in and start searching without knowing if there is somebody hiding in a bedroom or somebody standing in a kitchen. Is that right? That is correct, sir. You're going to clear the house first. Is that right? Yes, sir. So your search began after the house was cleared. Is that right? Yes, sir. And during the clearing of the house, Mr. Myers was not located in the residence then. Is that right? That is correct. You knew the house was clear when you went in, right? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I have nothing further at this time. I'm sorry, just a few more. Okay. Deputy, when you did the search to clear the house, was Ms. Patterson inside of the residence? No, ma'am. Was the first time that you saw her the same time that you saw Mr. Myers? Yes, ma'am. Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mason, anything further? No, Your Honor. Thank you. May this witness be excused, counsel? Yes, that is fine. Thank you. You may step down. People may call their next witness. People call Detective Hogan. Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall state in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, I do. Thank you. Please state your full name for the record, spelling your first and last name. My name is James Hogan, Jameshogan. Thank you. You may inquire, Mr. Mason. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Hogan. Good morning. What is your occupation? I am a detective for the Oxnard Sheriff's Department. How long have you been a sworn peace officer in the state of California? For over 19 years. What is your current assignment? I am currently assigned to the Narcotics Division, assigned with the K-9 unit. How long have you been working just narcotics? For over 6 years. Could you briefly describe your background, training, and experience relating to narcotic investigations, more specifically methamphetamine labs? Well, I have over 600 hours in advanced training in narcotic-related fields, including possession, possession for sales, transportation, and compartments, also methamphetamine labs and chemicals. Approximately how many methamphetamine lab investigations have you been involved in? Approximately 7 or 8. Now, on this particular date, you were called specifically for a potential methamphetamine lab. Is that correct? That is correct. You were there or weren't there during the original execution of the warrant? That is correct. I was not there. You arrived sometime later? Yes, that is right. And we are talking about September 10th, 2011? Yes, I believe so. Yes. Okay. And on Kruger Road in Oxnard? Yes. Now, I don't need a whole thing, but just briefly, an explanation of the methamphetamine processing or the process and manufacturing of methamphetamine. Well, the first stages is pseudoephedrine, iodine crystals, and red phosphorus, and there's various types. You've got to keep in mind there's various ways of doing this type of thing. You add it with water. You then filter off the red phosphorus, and then you add red devil lye or the soda. You add Coleman fuel or heat or acetone, depending on how you are doing it, and then add more caustic soda. Then that gives you a bi-layer liquid. The solvent will be on the top. You need to get rid of that. Once you get rid of the solvent, then you make a gas generator, which is usually made with a rock salt and acid, and that makes a gas. You put that in the liquid that's got the liquid at that time, the liquid methamphetamine, and then you basically, with the gas generator, the meth will crystallize and fall to the bottom of the liquid. Now, at that stage, when it falls to the bottom of the liquid, which is what type of color? What's the typical color of it? Well, it's anywhere from off-white to brownish to a white color, depending on the way they process it. Now, how do you get to it? How do you get it to be clear white or that very crystallized substance? Well, depending on how it comes out, they usually take acetone and a coffee filter, and basically they use the acetone to clean the finished methamphetamine to give a better look to it or to crystallize it up, or on the streets, as they say, ice. That's the last stage of the processing? Yes. Now, why would somebody try to make it crystallized or more white? Well, people don't want to buy dirty meth. They want it to be, very clean. Now, when you were called out on September 10th, what items did you observe that were consistent with a methamphetamine lab? Well, I just located a few different chemicals, but what really attracted my attention was the coffee filter that had the off-white crystal substance that was damp. And did you speak to Deputy Ramos about that particular item? Actually, I believe I spoke to Deputy Salmon. I have nothing further, Your Honor. Okay, counsel, Mr. Waltz. About how long did you arrive on scene after the initial search was conducted? I would have to guess, but I'm thinking it was like an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, and when you arrived, the suspected methamphetamine in the coffee filter was dry. Isn't that correct? No, it was damp. How about the coffee filter? Was that dry? I believe that was the same question you just asked me. Well, the methamphetamine, there was methamphetamine in a coffee filter. Is that right? Yeah, that was what was damp. Okay, the methamphetamine was damp in the filter. So the filter was damp also then? Yes. I'm also just trying to clarify this. And if you believe you arrived an hour to an hour and a half after the search began, is that right? I'm not sure without looking at the log. Okay, how long? You seem to have some experience or some knowledge about this. If somebody cleaned methamphetamine with acetone, approximately how long would it take for the product to dry if it was sitting in a coffee filter? Well, I have no idea how long it would take to evaporate. Was Mr. Myers there at the house when you arrived? Yes, he was. Okay, do you know how long Mr. Myers had been there? No, I do not. Where was Mr. Myers located when you arrived? I believe he was out in his front yard. Deputy, isn't it possible that the suspected meth in the coffee filter could have been obtained elsewhere other than at the residence where you located it? I don't know where it was obtained from originally, but when I arrived, it was there at the house. Okay, right. But it could have, it's possible in your experience that the suspected meth was that in the coffee filter and could have been brought from another location, right? Yes, I suppose that is correct. Okay, and then when did you also see Ms. Patterson that day? Yes. Was she outside with Mr. Myers? I believe so, yes. Is that when you first saw her? I believe so. Okay, thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor. Mr. Mason, anything further? Yes, Your Honor, I have just a few more questions. Did the Oxnard Crime Lab also send out a criminal list? Yes. Is that the same gentleman, at least one of them? Yes. And did he arrive before or after you? He arrived a long time after me. Okay, a long time after you? Yes. When you say a long time, how long? At least 2 hours or more. Okay, and now this gentleman asked you a question about being obtained elsewhere. As it's drying, is it still processing? Yes, because it's in a liquid state. They are trying to crystallize it or clean it up. Okay, thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to change transcripts. Actually, shoot, I was going to read my transcript from the test. Let me get it out real quick. I forgot about that. Everything has been, since we had that fire, it was kind of, everything was kind of crazy last night. Let me see here. Let's see. I thought I had it in this binder, but if I don't have it, I'll read it next week. Let me just check one more binder. Yeah, okay. I thought I had it in this binder, but what I'll do is I'll get it. I'll find it and read it next week, okay? All right. So let's go ahead and we'll do another one. This is going to be plaintiff questioning. And the court and defense both come in. Okay. Okay, let me just date this. Now, would you like me to read this at 200 or 225? It's up to you, totally up to you. Oh, Catherine's here. 225, perfect, all right. So plaintiff is questioning the whole time, but defense jumps in. Here we go. Showing you a letter, Mrs. Carter, dated April 21st, 2013. Do you recognize the signatures on the bottom of that letter? Yes, I do. And two signatures are those. My mother, Sarah Bailey, and my father, James Bailey. Okay, Your Honor, may counsel stipulate that the letter which I have shown to the witness is identical to the letter marked C. A stipulation, counsel, that this copy is the same as the copy that you have identified? Yes. I have no objection, Your Honor. All right, proceed. Mrs. Carter, do you recall purchasing a condominium in Virginia Beach on or about April 13? Yes, sir, I do. And did you receive monies from your mother and father towards the purchase price of the condominium? Yes, I did. Did you have an agreement with either your mother or your father to the effect that they would acquire an interest and ownership in that condominium? Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike. Motion granted. At the time that the money was given to you to acquire the condominium, did you have conversations with your mother and father? Yes, we did. And would you please tell us what those conversations were? Your Honor, I would only ask counsel before the witness gets into this to please identify the place, time, etc. of these conversations. What was the first conversation you had with Sarah and James Bailey? Do you mean about purchasing or after we purchased the condominium? I'm sorry, I'm not clear on your question. Prior to the purchase. Prior to the purchase, I believe it was sometime in the winter, they had seen it. Winter of what year? 2013. They decided to move to Virginia and retire near me. And did they have any conversation following that one? Then they came to Virginia for a visit. I believe it was January or February of 2013. And at that time, we talked about their move to Virginia. Did you have any conversations with Sarah or James Bailey concerning where they would live? Yes. And did any of those conversations concern the condominium in Virginia Beach? Yes, it did. And can you tell us in terms of which came first in time when the first conversation occurred? My husband knew we wanted to purchase that condominium. Mrs. Carter, please respond to the question that he's asking you. When did that first conversation occur? I believe it was February of 2013. And did you have a conversation with either James or Sarah Bailey concerning the purchase price of the condominium? Yes. Will you recite to us the substance of that conversation? Yes. In February of 2013, we discussed the matter. It would have been in my home that we would have discussed it. We had seen the condominium and my husband and I wanted to purchase it. Tell us approximately what was discussed. Well, I would have said to them that we needed a certain dollar amount to purchase it. They said yes, they wanted to live there. I said, would they give us the money? Did you have any further conversations with either James or Sarah Bailey concerning the dollar amount of the condominium? Not after that, no. And in that conversation that you had with James and Sarah Bailey, did either of them tell you that by giving you the money, they would be acquiring an interest in the property? Objection, leading the witness, move to strike. Overruled, please answer the question. No, they did not have an interest in that condominium. They never had an interest in the condominium. No, that wasn't the question. Ask me the question again, please. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Would you rephrase the question? It was a rather leading question, which I allowed her to answer. Can you remember any of the terms or substance of that conversation? No, that was it. You know, we said how much we needed, and they said yes, and that was the conversation. Were you aware that they sold their home in Lansing, Michigan? No, I wasn't aware of that either at that point. Did you subsequently become aware of it? Yes. And did James or Sarah tell you anything with respect to what or where they intended to live out the rest of their lives? Objection, Your Honor, that is leading. Sustained. Mrs. Carter, you were present in the court during the testimony of James and Sarah Bailey? Yes, I was. Did you at this time in the summer of 2013, talk with your father, James Bailey? Yes, I did. Concerning the condominium? Not concerning the condominium. Did you ever tell James Bailey that the condominium would be divided between yourself and Sarah Bailey? No, I did not. Do you recall James Bailey testifying that there were two conversations which occurred in the summer of 2013? Yes, I recall him saying that. Did you ever have either of those conversations with James Bailey as he recited them to the court? No. Let me look. I'm going to look in one more binder here. I know I have it. It's just I put it somewhere special because I don't ever want to lose it. And darn it. Let me see here. If I don't find it, then I'll have it next week. But oh, I found it. You guys want me to read it to you even though? Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to read you the introduction, okay? You probably know this. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, this is court. I just want to make sure. I thought it was, but all right. Here, I'm going to read you the introduction first, okay? This is exactly what they do, Catherine, at the test, okay? All right, here we go. Good morning. I am Mr. Harvey. I am the plaintiff attorney in this action. On your chair, each of you found a packet. Place this beside your chair until after the dictation is complete. If you cannot hear or understand me, please say so now. Hello, my name is Linda Anna Cunningham. I will be the witness in this action. After the dictation is complete, you will put your notes into your envelope and walk directly to the typing room. If you cannot hear or understand me, please say so now. Hello, I will represent the court in this action. I would like to advise you now that there is to be no talking after the dictation is complete and while you are walking to the typing room. If you cannot hear or understand me, please say so now. My name is Mrs. Crow. I am the defense attorney in this action. After the dictation is complete and you have walked to the typing room, get ready to begin typing immediately. In your envelope, you will find a list of the proper names along with other written directions. You will be told by the proctor when to begin typing. You will have 3 hours to transcribe your notes. If you cannot hear or understand me, please say so now. And then here is the test, okay? Harvey. Okay, so let me just make sure I've got the right sign changes for the Harvey as plaintiff and Crow. Yep, Crow is defense. Okay. All right, so I'll read this at 200, okay? All right. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. At this time, the plaintiff would like to call Linda Cunningham. Please state your name and would you spell your first and last name? My name is Linda, Linda. Do you want my full name, my full formal name? That's fine. Linda, Linda. My middle name is Anna, Anna, Cunningham, Cunningham. Thank you. You may take the stand. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mrs. Cunningham, will you tell the jury where you reside? Fresno, California. Are you married, ma'am? Yes. And to whom are you married? Pardon? To whom are you married? Roger Cunningham. Roger, the gentleman sitting next to me? Yes. When did you get married? February of 1989. And are you the stepmother or co-parent of Bobby Cunningham? Yes, I am. Does Bobby live with you and Roger? Yes. How long has he lived with the two of you? Well, he has lived with Roger since September of 88, and then I joined them when we got married in February of 89. Okay, are you currently employed? Yes. And how would you tell the jury what your business or occupation is? I am a teacher teaching a 5th and 6th grade combo. What school do you teach at this time? Rolling Hills. Where did you graduate from, ma'am? California State, Fresno. And your degree is in what? Liberal studies. Where did you first meet Roger? Your Honor, objection, immaterial. Overruled, foundational. I met Roger June of 88. I am sorry, you got married when? February of 89. At some point in time, did you become aware of some statements that were made by the defendant about your husband? Yes. Would you tell the jury what the statements were that you became aware of? Your Honor, may we have a foundation as to time and place? Sustained. That's an objection. Foundational? That's correct, Your Honor. Sustained. At some time, did you become aware that statements were made about your husband? Yes. And would you tell the jury when you became aware of those statements? I became aware when we received a letter. It would have been in August or September of 88, telling that his visitation had been canceled because of some allegations of Roger molesting his son Bobby. Okay, at any time, did you hear those allegations repeated? Yes. Would you tell us when the first time, after having received that letter, that you found those allegations repeated? I believe the first time I heard about it was through a parent at Bobby's school. If you can focus on our steps, or just think about it, and if you know the exact date, if you don't know the exact date, let us know as best as you can, or as close as you can. It would have been in October of 90. Okay, and that was a parent of a school or student at Bobby's school? Yes. I would object, leading and suggestive. Sustained. Where was that parent's child enrolled in school? Monroe School. And what school was Bobby enrolled in at that time? Monroe School. And who was the parent with whom you had the conversation? Betty Mason. Did you see Betty Mason here today? In passing, yes. What did Betty Mason tell you about this conversation? Objection. That calls for hearsay, Your Honor. Counsel, do you wish to argue that now? Yes, Your Honor. I would certainly like to argue that. Counsel, I will overrule the objection. Linda, I think my question was, what did she tell you? Well, Your Honor, I object on the basis of no foundation as to when and where this conversation took place. Overruled. Go ahead. I actually called Betty Mason. Betty did not come up to me. I called her when I discovered that there was a hearing, and I am looking at my notes for the dates. It was after the hearing where Roger and Beverly were present. What happened at the court hearing? In court, Beverly said that Betty Mason had told her that I was calling myself Bobby's mom. And when I heard her mentioned is when I realized there had been some conversation between them. So I called her over the phone. That's when she told me of these accusations. Okay, let's back up then. Did you ever call yourself Bobby's mother to any of the school officials at Monroe? No. Have you ever held yourself out to be Bobby's legal guardian? No. The conversation with Betty Mason, which was prompted by the comments that you heard the defendant make, what was the substance of that? Could you repeat that again, please? Sure. Let me just try to get in place. You said that you placed a call to Betty Mason. Yes. It was about something that you had heard, that you were holding yourself out as Bobby's mother? Yes. You mentioned that there were accusations made to you during that telephone conversation? Yes. Betty Mason told me. Now, Your Honor, I am going to object again on the basis of hearsay. Overruled. During the conversation, Betty Mason told me about the accusations that Beverly was making about Roger, that Roger had molested his son, Bobby. Did she say anything else in that conversation? Yes, other things. Okay, did she say anything else that related to those accusations? No, we didn't get into the detail. I said, may I have Roger call you? I didn't want to get into a big conversation. I was stunned. Move that be stricken. It is non-responsive to the question. Sustained. Did you have a reaction to the comments that Betty Mason made? Pardon? Did you have a reaction to the comment Betty Mason made? Yes, I was very stunned, and I couldn't believe that those accusations were being said at Bobby's school. At some time, did you discuss this with Roger? Yes, I telephoned him shortly thereafter at work. Did you tell him what you had heard? Yes, and I told him if he would please call Betty Mason, and I thought it was his place to talk to her at this time. Linda, did you have any other conversations with any other people, either parents of students at Monroe School or teachers or administrators at Monroe School, regarding the accusations that you have just mentioned? No, I didn't really want to discuss it with them. I knew through Roger that we started to investigate in the school, or Roger did, about what was going on, but I didn't have... Your Honor, this is not responsive. I am sorry, this is not responsive. Just a moment. Objection on that basis. It asked for a conversation. Sustained. Everything past no will be stricken. Linda, did you ever talk to anyone else who told you about the accusations that Beverly Johnson made about your husband? Yes, Mrs. Adams. Let's see. I can't remember her first name. Is that a Mrs. Susan Adams? Yes, Susan Adams. And where did Mrs. Adams live at the time you had these conversations? She lived in the same apartment complex with Beverly Jackson. Can you help us out with an approximation, or if you know the specific day that you had this conversation with Mrs. Adams? I believe it was in March of 91. Okay, what did she tell you? I am going to object to that, calling for hearsay, Your Honor. Sustained. Did the conversation with Mrs. Adams deal with the accusations that were made by the defendant? I am going to object as being leading and suggestive. Sustained. Can you describe for us what Mrs. Adams told you? Well, that's hearsay, Your Honor. Sustained. Objection. Sustained. Your Honor, may I be heard on this? Not necessary. At some time, did you and Roger discuss adopting another child? Yes. Did you discuss that with Bobby? Yes. Would you tell the jury what your plans were as far as adopting another child? Objection immaterial, irrelevant, Your Honor. I will sustain it at this point. Well, Your Honor, I request to be heard on this. This relates to the damage aspect of this case and how it affects my client. She is not a party plaintiff, Your Honor. I understand. I didn't ask for argument. I beg your pardon, Your Honor. Please excuse me. All right. At some point, did you discuss with your husband his willingness to adopt another child? Yes. Did he tell you what his intention or inclination was as far as adopting another child? Objection, Your Honor. Objection on the basis of hearsay. Overruled. Just calls for a yes or no. He did not want to adopt. It calls for a yes or no. Excuse me, yes. Can you tell us whether a decision was made as to you and your husband adopting a second child? The decision. Objection on the grounds of immateriality. It is overruled on that ground. Well, there must be one I am not thinking of, Your Honor. Go ahead. The decision to adopt, Roger didn't want to. The allegations were, Your Honor, the question has been answered. Sustained. Did he tell you or did you discuss why Roger didn't want to adopt a child? Objection calls for hearsay. Overruled calls for a yes or no. Could you repeat it, please? Sure. Did you discuss with Roger whether or not he wanted to adopt a second child? Yes. What did you two discuss? Objection, Your Honor. He said absolutely not. Did you have a conversation as to why he refused to adopt a second child? Yes. Would you please relate what that was? Well, basically, he didn't want to adopt because, well, this calls for a conclusion on the part of the witness, Your Honor. Sustained. Did he explain to you his reason for not wanting to adopt a child? Yes. What was that? He was afraid that we would not be granted that right to adopt with the allegations pending accusations. And those are the accusations that were made by the defendant? Yes. And those are the accusations that were related to or about child molestation? Yes. Objection, leading and suggestive, Your Honor. Sustained. Did you ever try to go through the adoption process? The paperwork I obtained, but filling it out, no. Did you discuss this with Bobby? Well, he saw the paperwork and he saw a stork with a baby and he asked, well, I discussed it and I said, Bobby, would you like a brother or a sister? And he said, yes. Nothing further at this time. Counsel cross-examination. Has there been a change in Roger's behavior since those allegations have been made? Yes. Objection. That's overruled. The answer was yes, that will remain. Would you tell us what changes you have seen? An uptightness, frustration, becoming more withdrawn. I would describe being scared maybe to go out in public alone with Bobby without me there. Linda, do you do some volunteer work? Yes. Would you tell the jury with what group you do the volunteer work? Right now I am volunteering in the community. In the past I have done that, but currently with my job, the volunteer work that I am doing is at the synagogue. Have you done any work for any scouting groups? Yes. And would you tell the jury what kind of work you have done with scouting groups? Objection, immaterial, Your Honor, irrelevant, her work. Well, I will overrule it. Is this foundational? Yes, it is, Your Honor. All right. I am a Cub Scout leader, and I have been for 3 years. Have you ever had a discussion with Roger about whether he was interested or willing to be involved in scouting? Yes, I have tried year after year to try to get him involved more in scouting. Now, has he stopped or resisted from becoming involved within the scouting organization? Objection, not proper cross. Sustained. What was Roger's response to your suggestion that he become involved with the scouting groups? He didn't feel comfortable doing it himself. Objection, move it be stricken as a conclusion on the part of the witness. Counsel, she asked the question, overruled. My doing it was fine, but there are strict rules as to you have to go through a program for child abuse. And even I was afraid when I went through it and applied that I would be denied because Roger was my husband and these accusations were out. Did Roger ultimately let you know whether he wanted to be a scout leader or a troop leader or participant with the Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts? Yes, because he was a Boy Scout himself. Did he tell you that he wanted to be involved? Yes. Did Roger ever become involved with the scouting organization since you have been married? No, he has come with us on trips. Your Honor, the question has been answered. Sustained. Has he gone with you on trips? Yes. Have you discussed with Roger whether Bobby can have overnight visitors? Yes. And the visitors that you were talking about are some of Bobby's friends? Yes. What decisions did you make regarding whether Bobby could have some of his friends spend the night? Objection, Your Honor. Overruled. He said no. Did you talk about it? Yes. I would ask that counsel step back from the witness stand, Your Honor. Yes, counsel. Resume your seat, please. Did Roger discuss with you his reasons for not wanting Bobby to have his friends spend the night? Yes. What did he tell you? He did not feel comfortable. He did not want to be alone with any of Bobby's friends. And that was his main concern, to have them over, thinking what the parents would say, thinking about what others may have heard. Did you or Roger have any other concerns about having children spend the night? Could you repeat the question? Sure. Did you have any other concerns about the reaction of parents to an investigation or invitation to spend the night at Bobby's house? Yes. The question has been answered, Your Honor. Sustained. Would you tell us what your concerns were about the reaction of the parents of Bobby's friends? Objection. No proper foundation laid. Sustained. Did you have a concern about what the parents at the school thought? You mean the other parents? Thank you. What Bobby's friends' parents thought about their spending the night at Bobby's house? Yes. Let's identify who some of these people are for the record, please. All right. Do you want to tell us who are the neighbors or friends about whom you were concerned that they would not permit their son to spend the night at Bobby's house? All of our surrounding neighbors. All right. Can you tell us the names of your close neighbors who have children Bobby's age who would have been invited to your house? Mr. and Mrs. Clark, Mr. and Mrs. Abby, and Mr. and Mrs. Ward. What was your concern? I was afraid that they would reject our invitation because of knowing about the accusations. Do these neighbors know about the accusations the defendant made? Objection. Calls for conclusion on the part of this witness. She either knows or she doesn't, Your Honor. Sustained. Counsel, we will recess at this time. You may step down, Mrs. Cunningham. So let me unmute everyone. This was the second test I took.
Pretty tricky.
Yeah. Lots of colloquy, lots of objections. I didn't think the material was that hard. It was more like the continuing objections. And it's kind of funny because the first test that I took that I screwed up on in the transcription room, it was much easier. I don't think I have that test. And the second test, I think I was just so mad. I don't think a lot of people passed this test. I think it was kind of a lower pass rate, but I was so mad. I was like, oh no, I'm not coming back in 6 months again, Yeah. So, and that I know it seemed longer, but also we have the lead in too, so I don't know if you guys want if you want to transcribe it, let me know and I could give you like where the test starts, or if you want the word list or anything.
Yeah, tell me where it starts.
Huh?
Tell me where it started.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Let's see. So it starts. All right. So it starts with plaintiff, Mr. Harvey, says, yes, Your Honor, I would certainly like to argue that. Yep. And then I'll give you one more just so you can find it easier. Then the court comes in and says, counsel, I will overrule the objection. And then Mr. Harvey comes in, and that's the by Mr. Harvey question. Linda, I think my question was, what did she tell you? So that kind of gives you a better idea of where. So plaintiff is Mr. Harvey, Harvey, and defense is Ms. MS period Crow, CROW. And then let's see here, the word list. We've got Betty Mason, capital BETTY, Mason, capital MASON, Roger, capital ROGER, Beverly Jackson, BEVERLY, Jackson, capital JACKSON, Monroe School, capital MONROE, and the capital S on school, Mrs. Susan Adams, capital SUSAN, Adams, capital ADAMS, Bobby, capital BOBBY, Cub Scout, capital CUB, space, capital SCOUT, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, capital CLARK, Mr. and Mrs. Abby, capital ABBEY, Mr. and Mrs. Ward, WARD, Mrs. Cunningham, capital CUNNINGHAM. And this is the November 1994. So long ago.
I think it was a tough test.
Yeah, yeah, this was definitely, it's just kind of funny how I didn't pass the first one and it was so much easier. Like, like you said, if you don't like those easy ones, it's like if you get, you don't pass that, it was like, okay, that's my own fault.
Exactly.
Ah,
Exactly. I'll never be lucky enough to get one that easy again. Yeah.
well, you never know,
Yeah.
you never know. Because I think that they had a couple of really good ones before this one. Like the first one I took was really good. And I think the one before that I had heard was really good. So it seems like it goes in waves. Like,
Yeah.
they'll give a couple of good ones and then
Yeah.
a more challenging one will be thrown in there. But so, hi, Catherine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I just can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, my computer crashed yesterday, so I'm using my husband's laptop. So
Oh no.
I know, but Robert has been so helpful. Just everyone out there, Robert is awesome.
Isn't he awesome? There was a few years back, I almost threw away my computer because it crashed, and I almost threw it away or got rid of it and got a new one, and he was able to fix it.
Yeah, he's kind of been walking me through what I need to do. So it's not a dead computer yet, that's for sure. So
yeah.
But that was fun doing your test just now. It was fun to see how that went. I did pretty well actually, like the first 3 minutes or so, and then after that just kind of when it started kind of ping-ponging back and forth, I kind of fell apart a little bit, but that was cool. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad I found it because like I was telling Donna, we had a fire yesterday break out like a mile from our house, and it's better now. But last night we were like, oh my gosh, and I had friends that were like on standby evacuation, and I told them, you guys let me know if you want me to come over and help you. And so it's just kind of been crazy. But today it's better because the wind right now, the wind isn't too, yeah. So
I'm keeping all of you in my prayers because
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have family in Ventura County, and they're not, no one's near like exactly where the fires have been, but it's scary.
It is
stuff.
Yeah, you just don't know where the wind's going to take it,
I know. So
and everything is so dry, and I mean, isn't it weird, Donna? Like it's hard. I haven't even started decorating for Christmas. I feel like it's still summer. It's
summertime.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah, it's so dry down here. When I was in Sacramento, I realized it was pretty green up there. And like down here, there's a park right outside the back of my house. It's always green by this time, and it's still brown.
So scary.
Yeah.
What city are you in, Donna?
I'm in San Marcos, which is in North San Diego County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the lilac fire is by you, right?
Yeah.
How far away is that from your house?
I would say it's a good 10 miles north of us. Maybe, yeah, right around 10 miles north of us. Yeah, so I'm not really worried about that one because it's blowing west, not southwest.
Okay.
So I think we're fine.
Okay. Yeah, my son works in Vista, and he has to take Gopher Canyon every day, and I don't even know if it's open today.
Closed.
Is it closed?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, the thing is, when it's like this, remember a few years ago when we had like 4 or 5 fires across the county at the same time? You just never know what's going to come next.
I know. It is. It's really scary.
Yeah.
Our weather right now, it's like our typical weather in October, not December.
Right. It's crazy to have a Santa Ana in December.
I know. It's like, oh, just stop. And have you heard when the Santa Anas are supposed to be done? Is today the last day?
Today was supposed to be the end of the worst of it, but we're going to have dry conditions still for a few days.
Gosh, I know. I looked on the weather. I don't even see any rain in the forecast.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we'll be back in our drought again. I mean, not that we really ever got out of it, but at least last winter it was like, we had some, abundant rain to kind of help us. But if it keeps up like this, we're going to be right back where we were.
Yeah, it's so dry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys, that was a fun class.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And let me know if you want to have it graded. I'll grade it for you. If you guys want to transcribe it.
I want to have you read it again sometime.
Thanks. Yeah.
I want a second shot at it.
Yeah, no, I can read it again. I kind of felt bad because it was at the end of class, so you guys are already tired. So, I mean, I'll keep it out. And if you guys want me to read it next week, and what I'll do is I'll focus a little bit more on trying not to make mistakes because I kind of stumbled on a couple words. And that way I know, like, if you transcribe it, there's not a bunch of mistakes on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, we got to write what we hear, so it's good practice.
Okay, yep. I'll do it again next week. So if you guys want to transcribe this one or next one, let me know and I'll grade it.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, have a great weekend.
Have a safe one.
Okay, you too. Bye. Bye, Catherine. Bye, Donna.
Bye.
Bye, guys.